Hello everyone and welcome, this is Apex Racing TV live from Suzuka iRacing Grand Prix Championship Open Setup Series. Marco Barbanera, Samuli Kumo behind the cameras and Scott Newton joining us in just a bit. And hello Samuli. Oh yes, Open Championship, so we know Open Setups, these guys have been working hard all week and all season long. This is the fourth round of the season and we are, like I said, in Suzuka. As you can see, the qualifying is underway and we are showing now on camera Ricardo Orozco, and he has been the dominator this season. He's won every single race and is looking good so far in qualifying, sitting in temporarily in P1. We have these 10 minutes of qualifying with only 3 laps for these drivers, so it's important not to make any kind of mistake. And 66% race, so a one-stopper is what we are expecting with the strategy. Now, of course, the big question everyone is asking is if there's someone who can battle with Ricardo for the race win today. We have some quality drivers in the field, so it's possible that we can get some surprises, especially with his teammates. For example, I'm thinking about Matteo Calestani or Rasmussen. Is being very quick of late, so it's going to be an interesting race, I think. You know, Samuli, this track very tough, one of the best. I think the drivers love this track, even though passing is not easy around here.
Yeah, it's well suited for the F1 car. And also this time around I forgot to turn my microphone on. So that's helpful. Yeah, so this is well suited for the F1 cars. I drove this a lot with the Williams, and I can imagine that it's also great with the McLaren as well. I'm seeing Ronaldo Acosta. I think he just improved his time up to 5th position. But yeah, as you were saying, Ricardo just basically been dominating this series, and I think it shows that he's the only one with the pro license from the drivers we have for this grid.
Yes, one of the, like I said, positive sim racing guys that are sporting different liveries, but they are all teammates because of the various, I think, subdivisions inside the team. Luka Ferlic has been teammate to Rasmussen in this season, consistent driver on board with him, and of course running around the S section, this beautiful part of the track where it's very tough to get it wrong and lose a lot of time. No passing around here, but it is crucial with this part of the track if you want to get a good lap time. And you can see very tough to get you know, traction coming out of that corner as Luka goes for a ride up and over. So that, I think, is the end of his qualifying session. We have 13 drivers on the list so far. We'll see how many of them will take the start. As qualifying is winding down, only 43 seconds left.
Yeah, but it will be Rasmussen on the track.
And so far he is sitting in P4. So we would have a positive 1, 2, 3 with Orozco, Montañez and Calestani. Rasmussen in 4th and another positive driver with Reinaldo Augusto rounding up the top 5. But we'll see. I don't think that Niklas will have the time to improve because we are getting closer and closer to the checkered flag, which he will take because he's still at 130R. I think new livery on his car, which is nice to see. And qualifying is over, so in just a few seconds we'll go through the starting grid.
So we also have few drivers who did not set the qualifying times, so I believe they might be starting from the pits or from the back. That include Thompson, Jensen, Dave Strait and Flavio Clivati.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We'll see, because Alex, for example, Alex Johnson was here for the previous round, didn't set a qualifying time, but then didn't start. We'll see if he takes a start this time. Riccardo Rosco, pole position, Alpha second over his teammate Jorge Montañez, then Matteo Calestani in third, Niklas Rasmussen for NHR Esports in fourth, and Reinaldo Augusto once again for Positive in fifth, Bruno Canovas sixth place, Luca Ferlic in seventh, David Caldmore for Solar Flare in eighth, then Joe Ringrose in ninth position. 10th is Josh Thompson, first of the drivers without a time, then Alex Johnson, David Street in P12, and then rounding up the grid is Brazilian Flavio Clivati in P13. So, drivers are taking the spot on the starting grid. So top 3 is there.
Yeah, only missing few drivers.
Thompson is on the grid, so good for us, because he's a very, very quick driver. Ferlich is in.
Only waiting for Johnson at the street right now. That is, unless they'll be taking the pit lane start, but we'll see. They have 20 seconds to join, or they will miss the grid.
Clivati joined, then went to the pits, so maybe a last minute adjustment for him, or a pit lane start. 10 seconds left. Here comes Flavio once again. So Johnson and Street, if they start, they will start from the pits. And I think we are ready. The drivers are pushing, revs are up. And here we go, race is on at Suzuka, 35 laps, a good start from Rosco. Montañez, not a good start. Rasmussen slotting in P3 in front of Calestani, Canovas, Augusto. Oh, we have a semi-spin there in the back, we avoided the carnage. Thompson is already up to P6, then Canovas, Ringrose, Ferlich, Cadmore and Clivati. So there was a crazy moment there, somebody was basically sideways in turn 2. But these drivers are very, very good, and we avoided major drama, as the drivers
it might have been maybe Bruno or Luca.
Yeah, I think it was Bruno, because I think the car was not very bright. But yeah, I mean, Samuel, that was a very, very risky moment, and luckily we have avoided any kind of trouble. As Thompson and Augusto. Yeah, look at that. Thompson is really fired up, already up to P5, and not easy to go around Augusto. That hairpin there, I think, is the premier passing spot around here.
Yeah, and I think that's true for basically any car you're in. Another one would be the hairpin at the end or the first corner. Although especially with these cars, it might be the first corner may be a little bit scary, considering the high entry speed that you can carry with the doubles and tires. Another move here.
Oh, someone's around! And he saves it, but that was very, very risky, and he's going to get a slowdown. Uncharacteristic mistake from Rasmussen there, and once again he was very, very lucky, just like Bruno Canovas in the beginning of the race. And Thompson is
under pressure from Augusto.
Under pressure, yeah. So I think Rasmussen got away with the slowdown, because, and if he had, it was usually when you get a slowdown in the first few laps, it's a very, very big one, but he's still sitting there in fourth, so I'm a bit surprised about that.
Yeah, we can actually take a look at what happened, because we didn't quite get the full view on the podcast. So let's see if he just overshoot the braking, goes on the inside line and just locks up the rear and goes sideways. Very lucky to avoid any kind of incident there. Just slots in front of Josh Thompson.
Very, very lucky indeed. Rosco, Montañez, Calestani, Rasmussen and Thompson, the top 5. Lap 2 of 35 around here at Suzuka.
But in
cameras
the lead,
on. Yeah.
Yeah, Riccardo just on his own, really. Already almost 3-second gap to Jorge Montañez.
So right now Positive are enjoying the race. 1, 2 and 3 with Rasmussen, Thompson, then Augusto, who basically is the biggest loser out of the start, because he lost a couple of positions. Canovas, Ringrose, Verlic, Cadmore and Clivati, as Orozco sets once again the fastest lap of the race, 34.2, half a second or thereabouts quicker than Montañez and little bit faster than Calestani, Rasmussen as well. We'll see. I mean, Josh Thompson always puts on a show and he seems to be able to hang on with the rest of the front pack, with the exception of course of Orozco. And of course he was one of the protagonists of the McLaren Shadow series, especially with the F1 car. So he's got experience. We don't know how much practice time he has, and this being an open setup race. And he goes for a little bit of a... Yeah. 17 incident points are available for these drivers, and then we will have of course a disqualification. And we remind you that live race control is in action today with IndyCar road champion Michele Costantini among the stewards, and hopefully they will communicate with us throughout the race, keeping us up to date with incident counts and eventual penalties. I'm in contact with Michele as well, so hopefully we'll have every breaking news for you today. As Augusto is trying to close the gap on Thompson.
Again running wide there, like he is using up the incidents at the beginning. And here we go, Joseph, the outside of that was Luca.
Yes, and also he using one of his incident points there quite clearly, because he went very wide. Luca Verlic able to maintain the position as they go once again through the start-finish line. And these three are looking set to battle for the entire race, I think. Very similar pace between all of them. 36.8, and Clivati lagging a little bit there behind. 40.1, so maybe a mistake. But you know, he's very consistent. At Spa-Francorchamps he had 0 incident points, and he was able to get, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a top 5 out of that, as Thompson's name flashes in red once again at the double right-hander at Degner. So gotta be very careful, Josh, because there's like 31 more laps of this, and you don't want to use all your incident points at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I've just heard that we may have Scott Newton in the booth joining us.
Yeah, hello gentlemen, and good evening to everyone. Yeah, apologies for me being late. I just got stuck a little bit at work, but yeah, hopefully it's been a very entertaining race. So far, I just see that we're coming up to the start of lap number 5 now, so yeah, seeing that Ricardo Orozco having a 4.6 second lead over his teammate Jorge Montañez. Yes, Orozco's certainly built up a quite big of a lead at the moment, but hopefully we can see Montañez close that back up by the end of the race.
So, Scott, you've been, of course, broadcasting the entirety of the season behind the cameras, and I mean, what can we say about Ricardo, because he's been absolutely dominant this season so far?
Yeah, definitely. Ricardo's certainly put that World Championship license experience to full use, and he's certainly demonstrating it here throughout the season. We definitely saw that last round. I think that was Kota, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely showing that he definitely earned that top 20 in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and yeah, he's certainly putting on a show today.
As Ringrose is in the gravel at Degner 2. Let's see the replay, let's see what happened. Very tricky part of the track. He went straight on into the wall, and that I think is some pretty heavy damage for his car. Front wing for sure, but I think also the front left got a little bit bent. He is driving very carefully. I think the car is pulling a bit to the side. We'll see. I think he will head for the pits at the end of this lap. So we have a very nice battle brewing here between Calestani, Rasmussen and Thompson. Rasmussen, of course, trying to recover after his early mistake. He went around at the final chicane and luckily was able to avoid contact with his other competitors. I think he has the pace to finish, I think, in second place today. Certainly a podium spot looks likely if he doesn't make any other mistakes, because he's proven to be quite clearly one of the top drivers of the championship.
Yeah, definitely. We saw that Rasmussen finished on the podium last season. Oh, sorry, last race at Koto, and certainly doing a solid job for NHR Esports. See that he's only 2/3 of a second behind Kalistani, and also right behind him, pretty much equidistant, is Josh Thompson from Radicals Online.
It is Josh. Once again, didn't set a qualifying time, but very early in the first lap he was already sitting nicely in P5 and able to pull a gap on Ronaldo Gusto, who's been one of the series regulars. Once again, we said Josh is no stranger to this car, and nice to have him on the grid, as Joseph Ringros is in the pits, like I said. Oh, and Josh goes for a ride at the chicane. It's going to be a slowdown, and another incident point to his name. I think he has already racked up quite a big number, so gotta be careful for the rest of the race. Long way to go, so right now we have to focus, I think, on managing the incident points and maybe trying to get back to the back of Rasmussen in order to fight once again for the podium.
Yeah, I see that Rasmussen was only 0.05 of a second slower than Kalistani, so Kalistani eking out that gap just that little bit, but also that that gap between Kalistani and Montañez is growing ever bigger as well. That sets under 1/10 of a second quicker for Montañez last lap.
I think Rasmussen would like to go for a move on Kalistani as quickly as possible, maybe try to close the gap then to Montañez. Not a lot of creativity available for these drivers in terms of the strategy, this being a 66% race, as Thompson is losing positions, and you see why. He's facing the wrong way and is stuck in the barriers. Oh, that was a very hard hit for Josh. Car snapped under him coming out of the hairpin. Very strange crash, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely. If that looks very similar to an incident that I saw in the 2016 race here in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the World Championship race involving Pablo GoPro Lopez. Exactly the same incident, and yeah, it's just certainly unfortunate for Josh Thompson. Yeah, that puts him out of the race.
So Augusto gets promoted to P5, and everyone, of course, behind Josh gets one position to their name. So Canovas is in 6th, Felix in 7th, and Cadmore and Clivati 8th and 9th. This track is proving to be very tough, I think. On these drivers already several retirements. Montañez, Kalistani and Rasmussen in the camera shot right now, fighting. This is the battle for second place. As you can see, bottom right of the screen, the battle box showing the gaps in real time. Kalistani trying either to, Rasmussen, of course, trying to close the gap on Kalistani. Kalistani trying to close the gap on Montañez. And the latter two being teammates. Maybe they will play some strategy and try to defend themselves from the Danish driver behind them.
Yeah, I'm certainly expecting to see that if Rasmussen was to try and overtake these two positive team sport drivers in front of him, I would expect them, or at least Rasmussen, to undercut at least 1 or 2 laps. That would probably be around between lap 11 and I'd say lap 15 if he was to undercut. But then again, you've got to weigh up whether, having not seen the track temp data, it's obviously a little bit hard to distinguish whether it's a hot track or a cooler track. It looks as though that it's fairly hot out there. So yeah, the drivers might be pitting in a little bit earlier than anticipated, I think.
Yeah, track temperature is 106 Fahrenheit or 41 Celsius track temperature, so decently hot, I'd say. And of course, this is going to play a part, of course, in tire wear, like you were saying, because hotter the track, of course, the quicker the tires are going to wear. So yeah, only one stop, I was saying before Josh Thompson went to the barriers. But you know, the track being hotter may play a little bit of a hand in, you know, getting, like you were saying, a little bit of undercuts and a little bit more of freedom, I mean, or creativity for the drivers to try, like you said, an undercut or something like that.
Yeah, just saw that Leonardo Augusto running wide at Spoon there, just taking that outside curb and yeah, having to slap it just that little bit, and yeah, that cost him probably at least 3 or 4 tenths of a second the middle part of Spoon. But as it cost us the line now to start that up at 10, 35.6. So yeah, that cost him at least half a second to Rasmussen, and that gap is out to well over 7 seconds now. So a fair old gap from Rasmussen to Augusto, but hopefully he'll be able to close it up to his fellow rival in fourth position.
Bruno Canovas sitting in P6. He's got 6 incident points. He's the right now leader in that category. Certainly think he wish he wasn't. 17 once again is the limit that these drivers can reach. On the YouTube chat we have Josh Thompson, if I can get there, yes, and Snap, you know, he is not happy, let's put it this way. He had Snap on whilst he was upshifting coming out of the hairpin, and yeah, so, you know, Scott, for many of the drivers is a love-hate relationship with this car, I think, as Rasmussen is getting very, very close to Calestani. I mean, some of these drivers drive this car, and I know you are one of the biggest fans of the older F1 car, the Williams car, so love-hate relationship with this McLaren MP430.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly unfortunate for Josh to be out like that. But yeah, as you say, many people have a love-hate relationship with this car, and yeah, I'm unfortunately one of those drivers that tested the car and put the keys away for good. So, and then grabbed the keys of the Williams, and just anticipating the release of the anticipated Pro car for 18-19. That's potentially due to be released very, very soon.
Yeah, lots of wild speculations. We've been talking about that a lot in the previous broadcast. I won't go into any conspiracy theories or something like that, because I have no idea what's coming for the Pro Series, but we know the details are bound to be released somewhat soon. Even though there's the possibility of, you know, postponing the start of the World Championship in order to accommodate, you know, the new car when it comes out, and of course the Pro Series will have to be scheduled a little bit later than usual, because I think we are lagging, Scott, a little bit behind with the release of the Pro Series details for the open wheelers.
Yeah, definitely. Would normally expect to see the Pro Series kick off late October, early November. So yeah, we're just waiting from the details from iRacing to find out when the 2018-19 iRacing Pro Series starts, and then obviously the World Championship typically starting late February, early March for anywhere from 12 to 16 rounds. So But yeah, the Pro Series we potentially 10 races as they usually has been, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. As yeah,
Calestani, Rasmussen, Montañez still maintaining the gaps between them. Calestani was able to pull away just a little bit from Rasmussen, who was very, very close in the previous laps. Now Calestani able to get a little bit more, 0.6 of a second. Especially, I think, in the first part of the track, with all the S's and very, very, you know, one line through those corners. I think it's very tough to follow with these cars, especially at that speed. So it gets then, you know, subsequently very, very tough to set up a move, especially if you want to try and go for a move at the hairpin, unless your opponent makes a mistake in the double right-hander. Then maybe you can get a better exit and maybe dive on the inside, try to get a move there.
yeah. Ideally, you want to be about 3 or 4 tenths back at the exit of the Casio triangle to be able to make an attempt at overtaking the car in front. But yeah, with Calestani not being close enough to Montañez, is not able to make the move, but also Rasmussen having the disadvantage of Calestani being in DRS as well. So Rasmussen is getting pulled along, but unfortunately is not able to close the gap to Calestani.
Outbreaking here at the hairpin as usual, and then going through all the gears basically as you go out of the hairpin and into spoon curve, which is also a occasion for me to remind that the Japanese word for spoon is spoon, which a fact that many people don't know, and it's not very useful, but you know, there it is.
So it's always good to learn a bit of the cultures. Japanese are very, very humble, and yeah, really, really nice people. I've had the experience of meeting many, many Japanese people, and yeah, they're super nice people, and always on for a chat. So, but yeah, Rasmussen getting within half a second of the third place guy Calestani, but unfortunately he's not close enough as going into turn 1. But
It seems
yeah,
to get,
just
sorry Scott, he seems to get very, very close in this first part of the track, and then when he has to follow here, like I said, it seems like he loses a little bit of contact, even though he's able to stay decently close. But you see the gap on the bottom right of the screen increasing ever so slightly through the S's, and that's what makes it possible for Calestani to be able to defend into the hairpin then, because, well, he doesn't even... Oh, Ferlich is dropping down the order. And here is why he's around coming out of the second corner.
I reckon he might have caught the curb on the exit there, or just got another. Oh no, he didn't. He just went too hard on the throttle, and yeah, unfortunately looped it. And it looks as though that he doesn't have any front wing damage, thankfully. But yeah, just loses a 6th place to Canavas, and luckily he's able to continue from where he is in 7th place.
Here is Cutmore, Solar Racing, Canadian driver. I think a little bit of front wing damage on his car, but I might be mistaken. Yeah, front wing is good. Apologies. Sitting in P8 right now. I think also for him is a new livery for this round. It's nice to see a lot of new liveries. And no updates so far from race control. Also, I think I want to give a shout out to NHR Esports, because I think their new livery has been designed by our newest guest in the chat. And it is a beautiful livery, I have to say. Looks really, really good. Nice blend of colors. as Calistani and Rasmussen are once again decently close, half a second, but the gap that goes down in the end and beginning of the lap then grows ever so slightly bigger, like I said, through the S's, and that's what makes it possible for Calistani to stay relatively safe in third position, sorry.
Just having a look at the relative speeds of Rasmussen and Calistani at the moment. It seems as if Rasmussen's in to the pit lane, so yeah, going for that undercut as I mentioned earlier. It's started lap number 16. We'll have to see whether Calistani will react to Rasmussen pitting on the next lap, but yeah, Augusto goes through to inherit P4 at this time, but yeah, as I was mentioning, yeah, the speeds between Calistani and Rasmussen were, I would say, within about 4 or 5 k's of each other, but we just don't know the relative downforce terms at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see once they bunch back up. As Rasmussen just comes out in front of Canavas.
Yeah, that was important.
Yeah, definitely. As Canavas just that little bit slow at the moment, but yeah, Rasmussen able to stay within a few seconds in front of Canavas.
Of course, I was, because I'm very, very forgetful, I was looking for the name, of course, and it's Olli Kuoka, the designer of this beautiful NHR livery, and I think all the new NHR liveries in all the different cars. So let's see what can Rasmussen do. He has some decent clean air in front of him as Ferlich and Canovas side by side through the hairpin. Canovas is able to defend the position. Ferlich looks extremely close as they run up to Spoon Curve, as Montañez and Calistani are in, and Ferlich goes wide at Spoon. Oh, but Canovas is around. And this allows Ferlich to go through into P6.
Just taking a look at the replay now on board Canavas. So it looks as though he had a decent first part of spin, but yeah, just the rear looping around on itself, potentially just going in a little bit too hot that forced the rear around, and yeah, just finds himself back in the pit lane, taking that toe. He'll fall back to 9th place as Montañez. Rasmussen's actually jumped Calistani, so great job for Rasmussen. He's had a perfect outlap to jump Calistani, and looks as though he's going to put the pressure on Montañez. Great job for Rasmussen.
Yeah, fantastic strategy, and he was able to get Calistani. That lap, I think, was awesome from Rasmussen, because he was able to get the jump. Let's see the moment of the overtake. Both of the PSR guys come out of the pits. You can see here comes Rasmussen getting the position on Calistani and closing the gap to Montañez as well. Maybe for Niklas, the chance, as Orozco goes into the pits, the chance of getting a second position out of this race. Augusto right now sitting in 2nd place, but still has to pit. So this is virtually the battle for 2nd place. Here comes Augusto in the pits as well. Clivat is in the pits also, as Orozco is coming out of there.
Yeah, it's really interesting to note that Rasmussen and Montañez had exactly the same pit stop time, but actually Rasmussen was slower through the pit lane, so he must have had an incredible outlap and in-lap to get that time gained. As see that Rasmussen was at least 6/10 slower throughout the pit lane, so it's still a fantastic effort for him to jump up to 3rd place at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, Scott, it doesn't sound like much, but the speeds these guys are going, 0.6 of a second, 1 second even lost in the pits, might be then a huge difference on the track.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say that at the average lap speed that they're doing, I'd probably say that it's a good 50-60 meters that that 0.6 is worth. So, yeah, judging by how close they were, that was Rasmussen would have easily been at least level with Galistani, but managed to get ahead of him. So, fair play for Rasmussen, and I certainly look to put the pressure on Montañez now.
Halfway through this race, a little bit past the halfway mark, 18 laps completed, 35 the scheduled distance. Orozco, Montañez, Rasmussen, Calestani and Augusto. This is your top 5. Ferlich, Cadmore and Clivati, 6th, 7th and 8th, as I think all the drivers have completed their one stop. And yeah, that was the... Well, Augusto had a very long stop, 19 seconds, 20 seconds. I think he got... a speeding penalty, yes. And that was the longest pit stop out of, you know, the regular pit stops that we had. Everyone else was sitting nicely around the 4-second mark, so no front wing damage and no penalties for them. So Augusto was not looking good for a podium, and after that penalty he definitely has no more chances for a top 3 finish unless something happens in front of him, because, you know, Montañez, Rasmussen and Calestani are still very, very close, and who knows what might happen there if they keep battling. Even though Montañez been able to pull away ever so slightly over Niklas there, so he's right now 1 second in front of Rasmussen there, so out of the DRS zone. As they go through... Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, just looking at the sector times, I would say that with Montañez and Rasmussen being fairly even in sector 1, then Nicholas from about half a tenth or so quicker in sector 2. I'd say that Nicholas is potentially running just a little bit more downforce. That's allowing him to catch up through the middle part of the lap. But then at the end of the lap and towards the turn 1, Montañez and Calistani, I'd say they're able to pull away. So that's where the time is gained and lost for those two at the moment.
Orozco, fastest lap of the race, of course, getting those new tires to good use, as he is long ways in front of Montañez and the rest of the pack. Of course, cars are getting lighter, fresher tires, so we might see some very nice lap times in the coming laps. I don't want to jinx it for Ricciardo, but this is looking like another win in the books, and he's won every race this season. And so far he's doing a pretty good job. And you know, Scott, for these drivers, this is a very important series, I think. Especially, you know, situation for the Pro Series is still up in the air. Probably we will get a new car, but even then, it's going to be a car that you have to set up for the Pro Series. And the official series being fixed right now, I think, especially for the new aspiring drivers that maybe want to give a shot at becoming World Championship drivers, if they do the fixed series and they do only that, the official series, then they will come to the Pro Series and they have probably no idea how to set up a top-end open wheeler.
Yeah, definitely. Drivers in this series are going to get a massive head start, I think. Especially when it comes to the likes of the preparation and setup. Obviously, we don't know what the Pro Series car is going to be. But yeah, the drivers in this series are going to have a massive head start over the guys that aren't competing in this league. And I think that's going to be a huge detriment to the ones that aren't competing, to be fair. Obviously, the guys that have the natural talent will shine as well, and we'll hopefully be able to see how they fare in the upcoming Pro Series. But yeah, I would say and completely agree with you that the ones that are competing in this series are going to have a massive advantage, I think.
One third year once again, gaps still similar between the second, third and fourth driver. Another fastest lap of the race for Roscoe, 1:33.5. What is in your, I mean, apart from, well, maybe not apart, but you know, of course, one of the biggest problems, you have to learn how to use the hybrid system in this car. What is the, you know, the common complaint has been jumping from, you know, the, let's say, the Formula Renault 2.0 or the Pro Mazda or even the IndyCar up to this car, to the MP430. What, in your opinion, is the, you know, biggest thing that you have to learn, and you know, maybe the biggest obstacle that you have to overcome if you want to set up this car to be competitive in a race?
Yeah, the biggest thing that you have to adjust to, say, and go from the C-Class Formula Renault 2.0, which I've actually gone back to from the Williams. But yeah, the biggest thing, like you said, just into the hybrid system, DRS as well. Getting used to how that reacts to the car, or how that plays the effect of the car with, especially a track like this, where the DRS activation point is pretty much on the exit of the Casio Triangle, and when you're trying to turn and engage that DRS at the same time, it can also have a huge effect on the car, but also the power and the torque that the battery generates as well. You got over, what, 700 horsepower in the internal combustion engine. You're gonna then got another 100 to 150 electrical horsepower as well. So trying to balance that throttle control as well as the braking is going to be a huge learning curve for the drivers that do step up into a car like this from the lower formulas.
Calestani P4, Montagnes P2, and Rasmussen in the middle of this positive sandwich. Maybe a problem for Augusto. Oh yes, sadly he's around. Let's see, I think it was the second corner. Oh, very hard hit into the right side barriers for Reinaldo. And he has to tow back to the pits with big damage, and so what looked like a possible top 5 for Augusto is, I think, not going to be today, because he will have to wait a long time, and this promotes Luka Ferlic up to the 5th place. So both of the NHR drivers are sitting in the top 5, so good for them. And you know, Ferlic, Cadmore, Clivati have been very, very consistent this season, not lining up the timing screens with, you know, super fast times, but being consistent sometimes it's as important as going fast, and you can get some pretty nice points if you just can keep the car on the track and, you know, wait for other drivers to run into trouble like we've seen today. So good for them, as Ferlic, Cadmore and Clivati, like I said, 5th, 6th and 7th. So looking good for scoring some valuable points as we are entering the final part of the race. Lap 24 out of 35, so next time around we'll have 10 laps to go for Riccardo Roscoe.
Wouldn't it be 11 laps to go?
You are absolutely right. Maths have never been my strong suit. I say that every time. You know, I don't have Sam Fitzpatrick in the booth, and usually I can lay the blame on him. So I'm I'm on my own today, and of course, don't forget, speaking of that, that we'll also have the BSR Porsche's Immortal Cup later today, starting at 2015 GMT. Yes. I mean, I have to adapt to the timing change, but yeah, it's 2015 GMT. So we'll have 3 races tonight for you. It's going to be myself and I think Ryan Walker in the booth for that one. And it's a very, very interesting series, so don't miss that. Always a lot of action and big grids and lots of fun, reverses, and all that stuff that the BSR series are known for. So don't miss it. Orozco running all alone. You know, the problem when you are dominating a race and like Ricardo is doing dominating a championship is that you don't get a lot of camera time because you're always running in front, having lived through the Ferrari domination of Formula 1 in the early 2000s. You know, it was the commentators in Italy were complaining, like they had never shown the Ferraris. Yeah, but they are like 50 seconds ahead of the field. So, I mean, yeah, at the times the biggest battles were like for P16, P17. So, it wasn't a very exciting time to begin with, but still, good to have some camera time for Ricardo and Jorge in P2. Positive team sport, teammates, like I said, even though they have different liveries. And Jorge has been able to pull away from Rasmussen, who's out of the DRS zone for good, I think, unless Jorge makes a mistake. And looking nice for P2 in this Suzuka race.
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, yeah, that Ferrari domination, that was pretty much when I got into F1. So as the Ferraris were dominating, it was certainly a great time for the Formula Ones. But yeah, as you say, yeah, the best battles were from P3 backwards. But obviously you had the likes of BMW Williams as well, showing their hand once in a while, and it was always good to see Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya have their day as well.
You know, that was the time I was still going at school, and it wasn't easy for a Juan Pablo Montoya fan in Italy to, you know, on Mondays having to go through the usual jeers from my classmates when, of course, Ferrari would dominate and. You know, every once in a while, Williams had their moment, but it wasn't to be. Even though in 2003 I am still bitter about the championship because I think having things gone differently, Juan Pablo could have had his F1 title. That was a fantastic season, by the way, 2003. And I remember the Suzuka race where Schumacher sealed the deal over Kimi, who was driving, let's remember, a 1-year-old car that season because McLaren botched the MP418. Those were the days. Calestani sitting in P4 35.2, so gaining just a bit over Rasmussen, 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, certainly not enough if he's going to catch the likes of Rasmussen. 35.4 last lap for Rasmussen. Compare that to Calistani at 34.2, so nearly quarter of a second gain. But he's going to catch up within the last 9 laps. He's going to have to be at least 3.5 tenths quicker per lap to at least have a hope of catching.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it is possible. You know, difference in tires is only 1 lap, so I'm not expecting Rasmussen tires to go down, you know, off of a cliff. So it should be safe in that compartment as well. As Calestani goes through Spoon Curve and once again on the, you can say, backstretch. There's the alternative starting grid, even though I don't think I've ever seen a race start from here. Through 130R. Car sliding just a bit and they are braking into the Casio triangle. And out on the start-finish straight for another lap completed by Matteo Calestani, who has been around forever, I might add, because he was one of the fastest drivers back in the Grand Prix Legend days, I remember. And he's still going strong after all these years. Just like, for example, Greg Ruto as well, who was a very, very prominent driver in the Grand Prix Legends days as well. And for those a little bit younger, I will say that that was basically, well, around 2001, 2002, so a long, long time ago.
Yeah, unfortunately that was a little bit before my time. Yeah, I started sim racing probably in 2007. But yeah, it's good to see that Calestani's performing great, and yeah, he's been pretty dominant through the official light GPS series, and as well here in the iRacing Grand Prix Championship as well. So still got another 7 laps to go as Ricciardo across the line now. Start lap number 29, 33.9. So still the only driver in the 33s. But yeah, slightly losing that little bit of time on his fastest lap. Still within half a second of his fastest time at the moment.
So lap 29 has started for the leader and now for all the drivers behind him. Just taking, as we have cameras on Luca Ferlich here, taking just a look at the race calendar, of course, and next race will be on the 18th of November, so in a couple of weeks time, and it's going to be a very, very, very interesting race because we're going to Road America, and a track that, I mean, in an ideal world, should host Formula 1. Is one of the best tracks in the world. I hope they never go there because they would have to change the track to, F1 standards. So you know what horrors they can make to that track. But still, we are on iRacing, so we can do that, and it's going to be, I think, a very, very interesting track. Long straights, but also every kind of corner I think you can imagine, elevation changes. I think it is one of my favorite tracks in the world.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Road America with any type of F1 car, whether it be the old classics, Lotus 49, 79, the Williams FW31 or the MP430, it's always provided classic racing, and yeah, it's going to be no different next week. 66% distance race. It's going to be about, I would say, 30 to 34 laps off the top of my head, but yeah, it's going to be pretty much 1 hour of fast-paced action, and I was certainly looking forward to it.
After that, we will go to Monza, of course, then Montreal. Only 1 week of break between Monza and Montreal, and 1 week of break as well between Montreal and Interlagos. So, triple header basically to end the season, and have the first champion of the iRacing Grand Prix Championship, and it seems like Riccardo Orozco is looking good for that title. David Catmore sitting in P6 right now, and he has gained 2 spots, even though the biggest mover of the race is, I think, once again, Flavio Clivati, who, like I said, he is very, very consistent and is able to get always some valuable points at the end of every race. And, you know, no one can take that 7th place away from him because everyone else behind him is out of the race. So, good for him. Roscoe and Montañez have maintained their qualifying positions, while of course Rasmussen went up one place and was able to recover from that mistake he made in the very beginning of the race, where once again he was very lucky to not only have no damage but also not inflict any kind of damage to any of his opponents, because usually when a driver loses the car in a chicane at the beginning of the race, it ends up in tears usually, but that wasn't the case, and Rasmussen was able to recover and get a nice podium as he goes through the double right-hander at Degner. See the banking, a slight banking on the second corner, and then hard braking into the hairpin. I mean, just the way this track flows is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Figure of 8 track. Combination of some left and right handers, especially through the S's as well, up through Dunlop. Coming through the double left-hander of Spoon, 130R as well, very, very fast pace. Slight lift for Rasmussen as he negotiates that corner. And then up into the slow section of the Casio Triangle is hard on the brakes. Second gear through this section here, and hard on the power on the exit of the Casio Triangle to start lap number 32.
Hopefully we'll have a couple of interviews after the race. Usually Riccardo Roscoe comes for a chat, and I think he's coming this time as well. I have no reason to think otherwise, especially since he's had a very, very nice stress-free race once again. Now the gap over Montañez is 14 seconds, so he is quite sure, I think, of his race win.
Yeah, he's pretty much turned the engine down.
Yeah,
he's got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, getting into conservation mode, I think. Don't want to make any mistakes, any silly mistakes, because we have to remember, Scott, this car can snap on you on any moment if you just let your concentration lapse for just a bit. So you have to stay, concentrated on what you're doing. But apart from that, I mean, it is reasonable to think that Ricciardo has maybe lifted just a bit because he wants to bring the car home. And, sometimes it happens that when you try to go slower, you actually end up making more mistakes than when you are maybe fully committed and concentrated 100%. But I don't think this is the case with Ricciardo, because he has been used to this, and he has had many races like this season where after a certain point he can just cruise to the win. So looking extremely good for him. Now Montañez is having to deal with a couple of lapped cars running on board with the Spanish driver. Down through all the gears, 5th, 6th, 7th gear. See the elevation changes, not massive, but they are there. And this curve here, Spoon curve, is so tough. It's one of the corners I've always makes mistakes in, because you have to basically get 3 parts of the corner right, and it's very easy to be a little bit too quick and then go outside in the runoff area. And once again they are braking a Casio here, and full throttle coming out of the final corner. Also the first corner is very tricky, the first couple of corners for that matter. Especially in these cars, you go there at a very high speed. And when you have to follow another car, even if it's a lap car, it's never easy to go through this section here of the S's because of the dirt here that the car in front of you is producing. As you can see, Montañez having to be very, very easy on the throttle as he tries to get a move on Clivati. No need of risking anything for Montañez, and Clivati is very nice and moves out of the way as Cadmore, I think, has got a problem. Oh, terrible problem for Cadmore at the penultimate lap of the race. He's in the barriers at Degner. Let's get a replay of that. Here we go. Oh, was just right behind these guys, and maybe he got distracted by watching that battle because he was basically braking on the dirty stuff, Scott, and when you do that, the car is basically, you know, when you are lucky, it goes like this. If you are unlucky, also it goes on in a spin and can cause all sorts of problems. So, but I think Cadmore will be able to finish the race in P6 still, because the white flag is in the air for Ricardo Orozco, so only one lap to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Cadmore very, very lucky to not hit the barrier any harder than he did to continue, but yeah, Orozco coming through the SS now, very, very dominant fashion, currently 18.6 seconds clear of Montañez at the moment, so yeah, it's just only going to be a matter of time, I reckon, before Orozco takes round number 4 of the iRacing Grand Prix Series Championship.
Saying hello to all the other guys in the chat right now, Jorge Alfaro, and I think also our very own Ryan Walker has joined the party, getting ready for the BSR Porsche Immortal Cup later today on Apex Racing TV. As Ricardo Orozco, for the final time, through Spoon, through the backstretch, and in just a few seconds through 130R. Complete domination for Ricardo in this championship. He's won at Nürburgring, he's won at Spa, he's won the Circuit of the Americas, and now he has won at Suzuka as well. So 4 out of 4 for Ricardo and Positive Sim Racing. Fantastic win for him. Very well deserved. His teammate Montañez will finish the race in 2nd place. And behind him, after a good recovery and a nice strategy, Niklas Rasmussen is in 3rd, and finishing in 4th will be Matteo Calestani, missing out on the podium. See Clivati and Cadmore, 1 lap down, so we are only missing Luca Ferlic.
Should be coming around the back part of Spoon now, so
yeah, he'll get some nice TV time.
it's pretty much on cue as he's coming out of the spin curve now. It makes a small mistake, but he's able to continue. No harm done. And yeah, through 130R, taking just a little bit grass on the entry there. It's certainly an interesting line, but yeah, through the Casio Triangle now, he'll cement 5th place for NHI Esports, and certainly a very, very consistent drive from Luca, and full congratulations to him for finishing in 5th place.
And yeah, final guy to cross the start finish line. So we are almost ready to give you the race results for this 4th round of the championship. The winner of the race is Ricardo Orozco, 19.3 seconds over Jorge Montañez, then Niklas Rasmussen in P3, Calestani in 4th, Ferlic in 5th, and 1 lap down it was David Cadmore, Flavio Clivati 2 laps down, and then the retirees, Ronaldo Augusto, Bruno Canovas, Josh Thompson, and Joseph Ringrose, with Alex Johnson and David Street not taking the green flag in the end. So this was the Grand Prix Championship from Suzuka. and let's see if we have some drivers up for interviews. So far we don't. Just wait a second, because maybe usually Ricardo is completing his parade lap and all that stuff. So like I said, next week is going to be Road America, as we get a replay of the start, I think. And it was basically a very, very nice and clean start. We had that scary moment with the car going sideways there. But I think... Let's see. Oh, there you go. And that was a very, very nice save. It could have been a lot worse, but it wasn't. And here we go, Ricardo Orozco. We waited for him, and now he's here. Hello, Ricardo. Once again, congratulations.
Hey guys, what's up? Thank you.
So, 4 wins out of 4 races, looking very, very good for the championship. Another dominant win for you. What are your thoughts about this race?
Oh yeah, it was a good race. Good to keep racing. Good to see some other faces on the grid. Yeah, I didn't have any major issues. I had a couple of technical issues, I would say. My upshifting was a little bit weird. So at some points I was like upshifting, and I was upshifting twice. So maybe I have to look into that. Maybe some dirt that got into it. I don't know. And this track and my computer, they hate each other. So I have a lot of stutters on this track. So at some moments it was a little bit weird, but other than that, was a good race. Good, I could push all the way, and yeah, it was good.
So, you were right in saying some new faces on the grid. It was nice to have, for example, Josh Thompson, but also other drivers. In a couple of weeks, we are going to a very, very unique track. It's going to be Road America, certainly a track where not only speed is important because of the long straights, but also you need to have, I think, a good car because of all the different variety of corners that you can come across at Road America.
Yeah, Road America is a lot of fun. I really like that track. Like the corners, it has some fast-flowing corners. It has that kink that is always challenging. Setup-wise, it's a challenge as well because we have that very long right-hander corner, which really kills the tires. So it's always a challenge to set up the car, and usually there's multiple choices with downforces that you can go. Usually people would go with a different downforce level for the qualifying and a different one for the race, so keeps it interesting as well. And yeah, lots of room for overtaking too, which is always entertaining.
Okay, thank you very much, Ricardo. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Just first of all for you guys to stick to the series and broadcasting. Then my teammates, of course, to help preparing for the race. And our main sponsor, University Isabel I. And yeah, thanks guys, see you next time.
Thank you, Ricardo. Congratulations once again. Now, second place, his teammate is Jorge Montañez. Hello, Jorge.
Hello.
So, it was a very, very nice battle throughout the race between yourself, Niklas and Matteo. In the end, you were able to get a nice P2. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I started the race and I realized I didn't have the relative view in the delta bar, and I needed like 3-4 laps to get accustomed to the race without the same braking I was doing. At the start, it was a bit difficult with Niklas losing control in the braking, but later on I was improving my pace, slowly building up. The tires were in a good state all the race, and the second stint was much better, and I managed to save the car when I almost lost it in the last lap, so it was a good race for me.
So when Niklas went into the pits, you and Matteo responded 1 lap later, immediately. So was that planned, or you basically covered from the undercut?
I didn't know when I was going to pit, but I scheduled to pit in that exactly lap. But once Niklas stopped, I just realized I had to stop too.
So next week is, 2 weeks, Road America. What are your thoughts about that very, very long and complicated racetrack?
Yeah, I like that track, but I know it's very scary for me in the in the fast zone. So I have good vibes about it. I know it will be difficult to have a good performance there.
Thank you very much, Jorge. And before we let you go, any shout out, anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, thank you to my team, to the sponsors, University Isabel, and thank you to Ricardo for insisting me in racing this.
Thank you very much, Jorge, and once again, congratulations for the podium.
Thanks.
And finally, we have Niklas Rasmussen. Here he comes in P3. Hello, Niklas.
Hello.
So, Niklas, you had a very, very scary moment at the beginning of the race. What happened there at the chicane?
Yeah, let's not talk about that, shall we? No. I just went for the overtake and I missed my button for overtake brake bias, so I just locked the rears and fortunately didn't hit anyone because that was a really scary moment. Didn't do the tires very well either. But yeah, nothing happened fortunately. I'm sorry to the guys I almost hit there.
Yeah, when you went around, I was sure it was going to be like a bowling ball, and the other drivers were the pins. But you were able to get, to avoid everyone, and everyone was very, very nice. And yeah, that was very important for your race, because then you were able to fight your way back, and you played a very good strategy to get the jump on Matteo.
Yeah, the plan was actually, well, as you saw in lap 1, to try and get ahead of both PSR drivers, to get the clear air, because I know that this track here is very difficult to pass, and the air plays quite a role, and the tires, like, you really gotta look after them, and it's not very good to be behind people, because it's just gonna wear your front tires even more. So I had to do something, and went for the undercut, got the track position ahead of Matteo, so like ended up in a sandwich. And the pace after that was okay. I mean, I wish I could have kept up with the Jorge, but unfortunately it wasn't to be, and P3 was the best we could get today, so I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest.
Also, congratulations on the new liveries, because they look absolutely fantastic, and you know, first race with the new liveries, I think P3 and P5 for your teammates, so it was a good debut, I think.
Yeah, I really gotta thank Oliver from Polygon 93 Productions for the livery. He's been putting a ton of effort into getting these cars out on the track, and we're really proud here of NHR Esports to have these livery ready for this season, ready for this race, and very excited to see what the future will bring for us.
Thank you very much, Niklas. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I gotta thank my spotter Alex. He told me like 50 times to look after the tires during the race, which was quite important with the track temperature being pretty hot. I also gotta thank my teammate Luca, the sponsors Newman Racing, Extreme Game Wear as well, and everybody organizing this championship here so that we have a place to race with open sets. It's massively appreciated, and obviously you guys for making the broadcast happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Niklas, and once again, congratulations on the podium.
Thank you very much.
And so we are at the end of this broadcast. Any final words from Scott?
No, certainly a very, very entertaining race. Ricardo pretty much dominant, as certainly expect. That World Championship license certainly befitting of Ricardo, but also it was great to see that there was battles throughout the field as well with Montañez, Rasmussen, Kalasani, Rasmussen doing that undercut strategy as well. Unfortunately, I didn't see the start due to work commitments, but I managed to get there at the start of lap number 3, and yeah, he certainly put in an excellent performance. But also seeing that Luca, David, and Flavio being able to put in a solid performance as well, finishing 5th, 6th, and 7th. But certainly unfortunate for some of the drivers as well. Canavas, Thompson, and Ringrose finishing well. Outside of their normal positions, but yeah, hopefully they'll be able to bounce back next round at Road America.
Thank you very much, Scott. And on this note, we will say goodbye to you, of course. Once again, don't miss at 2015 GMT. It's going to be the BSR Porsche Immortal Cup here on Apex Racing TV. But until then, for Sam Kumo, Scott Newton, I'm Marco Barbanera. Catch you next time. Have a good day.